Welcome to the Dropping into Power podcast, where we'll be hearing stories about the transformational power of surfing from women surfers of all ages, all levels, and all over. We'll hear about courage, commitment, struggles, frustration, epiphany, and, of course, life transformations large and small. I'm your host, Sheila Gallion, and I am stoked to share these conversations with these amazing women full of so much passion with all of you. Aloha and welcome to the Dropping Into Power podcast. I'm so excited to be here today with Ivana Bajic. Ivana is a Los Angeles-based multimedia producer specializing in developing projects that merge art and technology. And what she's merging is very, very cool. So we're going to talk about that. She's worked in a variety of productions ranging from artificial intelligence startups to projects with eminent artists, including Marina Abramovich and Jeff Koons. Her clients include British Society of Cinematographers and Warner Brothers Studios. So Ivana started surfing in her 30s, the first time that she went to Nosara. And we're going to talk a lot about how this inspired and completely transformed her life. But I want to also say up front that how I met Ivana was this incredible project she's doing called The Nature of Surf Women, which is an interactive photography project that features the women who live and surf in Nosara. And I interviewed one of her subjects in our last podcast, and we met and connected. And I had actually already seen this beautiful book, but the way that they are putting this book together with book is not the right word. They're going to have to invent a new word for what you're doing, Ivana. And their vision, so she worked with her collaborator, Gabby, who I'll let you tell us about her too, who's a photographer, not a surfer, but brought this passion together to capture nature and water from the female perspective and to use photographs to tell the story of women surfers outside of the mainstream media portrayal to celebrate women exactly as they are. And if you haven't even just looked through the lookbook, I'll put the link in the notes because it's so gorgeous. So welcome, Ivana.
Thank you. That was a very nice introduction,
Well, Ivana, as I'm talking to her, her hair is wet. She just came out of a training session that we're going to talk a little bit about in a minute, where she did some ocean safety. Very interesting. But I want to get a little more context first. First of all, I have to say, Ivana is from Serbia and then via London, via Los Angeles, via Nosara. That alone is a really interesting and unique story. And my very first question is, did you have any connection with the ocean growing up in Serbia?
Well, not at the ocean, but yes, with the sea. So I'm actually born in ex-Yugoslavia. And we unfortunately, fall apart as a country like 20 years ago. But I grew up in a communist family. So our summer vacations were super long, like 2.5 months. My parents were like taking us to seaside. So I had a very happy childhood, spending like that amount of time, snorkeling, swimming, and being in the camps with the other kids and in the nature. And I was thinking about this a little bit earlier after we finished the conversation, that I spent my childhood in nature because my grandparents, they have some kind of small ranch, which was surrounded with hills and a little bit a river. And I remember, like, I have this in my mind that I'm catching lobsters, river lobsters,
oh, wow.
With hands, with that, and putting them back. And so I think that that's it's a privilege, especially nowadays, that you can spend some time in nature as a child, learning about nature. And I think, like, I'm almost 40 years old, so there is no even opportunity that you get in touch with the animals, the nature, and all these things which I practiced as a kid with my parents. And I think that shaped me today as in a person as I am, because for me, after all this, teenager craziness, or like first job and living in other big cities craziness, when you come to the age as a woman that you want to go back to yourself, I went back to the nature. And I think that's because I had roots in nature that, my parents fortunately could afford, that we spend so much time like traveling on a different seas and, like spending time in the water. And I really think that today, if I think about it, I put all my energy and power that, we take our daughter as much as possible times, every holiday, every, 2-3 weeks when we don't have to work, or there is some kind of like drop out of the project, to Nosara, to Costa Rica, and expose her to the wildlife, right?
Right.
And I think that's so important to shape to shape our children to be close to the nature, because we cannot save this world if we don't expose our children to that nature. We are starting completely to lose, because we're building all these cities and having so many like concrete places, even in a smaller villages now all around the world. It's all concrete cars.
Wow.
So
yeah,
I think that's important. That's what my parents gave me as the biggest gift. And now when I'm thinking about it in my like 40s, I am the most grateful of all the things they gave me, like education or money to buy a first car or whatever, taking me to the nature and leaving me with my grandparents, to be with chickens, horses, climb a tree and pick up the cherries. This is why I think when I came first time to Nosara, and I was in the age that I was not chasing my career anymore, I was chasing my, spiritual growth. I understood that I want to come back home. I want to stay in this nature.
Oh, that gave me chills. That's was really powerful. And I raised my daughter in Hawaii, and then we moved to Los Angeles and lived there where I had grown up, and lived there for 3 years. And she got into the malls, and she just was so excited to be in town. But then she did start to crave it. And when we moved back to the Big Island, and I'll never forget, we jumped off the cliffs at a place called End of the World, and we're swimming, and it's so dramatic in Kona. You've got black rock and then crystal blue water. There's a cave, the water's crashing against it. You can see the fish in the reef underneath. And she just looked at me and she was like, we live here. We live here. And she comes and goes because she's in her teenage place, with different things she's exploring. But it'll be so interesting to me to see, since that is really how she grew up too. Like she grew up, and she goes to a school that has shark tanks and live animals. And, all the pictures I have of her are like holding sea life. And she comes in and out of that connection. But I think you're right. It will shape her forever. She has these city desires, but that piece of connection, which you may not, you're just doing it as a kid. You're not like having this experience like, oh, I'm one with nature. Like you're just talking to the lobster, right? So wait, where were you that you were on catching lobsters?
Like there are like small river lobsters. And
river lobsters. Okay.
Yes. And I remember that one day, I'm never going to forget that. Like, we catch them and brought them home for a dinner. And my dad opened one and there was a pearl inside. And in that time, I didn't understand how it's normal that, some lobsters and seashells like can produce that. Like, and I was so mesmerized. I was thought that like, oh, this is the most special thing ever happened. Like, the river gave me a pearl, and, it was soft. Of course, it was not like a pearl, but I know that, I was like, I was special for so many years after that.
Oh, that's amazing. Wait a minute. Was it a lobster or a clam?
Yeah, lobsters. Like,
and did they make pearls? I had no idea. Wow. I would feel really special.
They're very soft. They're not pearl, like pearls, I
had no idea. Wow. I would feel special too. So let's talk about how you got, because some people are like really called to surfing. Like they're called, you were more like a reluctant call.
First of all, because you people cannot see me, I'm very sporty type. Let's be honest. So yes. I am like, I always was competitive, and I did different kind of sports. And, like I love, even extreme sports. I like as soon as I found out what is kind of skydiving, I went, 5, 6, 7 times to jump, like learning to be better. I also found out a few years ago that, it's that I can climb Mount Everest to the first base, which is 5,200 meters.
Oh yeah, I love that she slipped this in. Like I climbed Mount Everest. So, so to that, that's still amazing. Amazing.
I mean, it's like I almost died. Let's be honest. It's I'm not a professional climber, but I watched videos on YouTube, and I'm in a good shape. So like, okay, let's go, let's do it. I also, went to visit Machu Picchu. So everything which is a little bit extreme, and you need that last two more pedals to
Right.
get it. I'll accept it, and I'll do it. So.
Yes.
I really think that I was convinced that surf is a male sport, and
Mm.
even like 10 years ago there was not so many females that were like exposed as amazing surfers. There were more like beauty commercial girls, and
Right.
it was not attractive to me. And so when I first visited Nosara, Costa Rica in 2014, I came here to support my husband to learn to surf, and I went to a yoga retreat. But I somehow I wanted to try. Of course, it's a challenge. Okay, I want to try, and I tried it. And like surfing a big board, like it's not the most funny thing. Carrying the big board, surfing the big board, like
Right.
not managing to turn. It was not that interesting. But what is interesting that like this place where we are, or I don't know, maybe any place which is like super powered with the energy of sport and sport spirit, like because like
Mhm.
Nosara is a small village, small town, but there is a lot of yoga centers, and it's very famous for surfing. And there is a lot of sport activities on the beach every day that you can just come and join and participate. So I think that kind of energy attracts my husband and me a lot. So on the last day we were like just like walking in from the beach, and my husband said like, oh, let's see, is there any like property here that we can buy? And I was like, and we were like just out from the water, like wet, without even flip-flops. And we were like, okay, let's, because it's small, you could walk to the real estate agent. And we walked in the first agency, like and we say, hi, we're a little bit wet and we don't have shoes, but can we ask you, do you have some like more affordable properties here? And actually the manager came also without flip-flops, and he said, just in my car. And I'm sorry, the car is a little bit stinky. My wife is dog whisperer, so she always has like bunch of dogs in this car, so sorry for the smell. And we were like driving around up and down the hill, and we were like on the way to go back to hotel to catch the flight back home to London in that time. And he was like, okay, I'm going to show you one last one. And there is like, we live in there is like 4 houses in a road, so 8 in total, and they're like small A-frame houses. So that means that they have like very long wooden rooftops,
Mhm.
and like 2 small rooms inside, and that's it. And we didn't even enter the house because it was occupied. Of course, he couldn't, unannounced bring some strangers to these people's houses. But he said, oh, these people are leaving and they're selling this house. And we're like, yes, yes, we want it. And while we were flying back to London, he created the agreement and contract, and we landed. And crazy, like like when you land and you're so excited
Yeah.
about it, we just like said, okay, we're going to just pay this and whatever it happens. So a week later we had a dinner with friends in London, and we said like, well, we just bought a little house, started. People like, what?
What?
Where? How are you going to even fly so often to see that house? Do you know where is it, that house? We were like, well, we can try.
Well, and you also left a little tiny part up, because I remember you saying you guys went a little rogue in your retreat, that suddenly you busted out of the sort of structure and you were out surfing with people like in other places and drinking and partying and not being vegan. And, that, helped break open this connection.
I mean, actually, like I think that small hidden gems like Nosara,
Yeah.
are the places where you come with a goal. Oh, I'm going to do this 12 days yoga retreat. I'm going to be strict to myself, drink green smoothies only, go to bed at 6, and I don't know what. But, like I am very free spirit. And, after a few days, we were like really we had this desire to discover the place, but
Yeah.
who lives here, and what people do here, and what is interesting here, so I think, there is a lot of destiny in everything, like something, stars or whoever you believed in, meant to be for you. And we met like the owners of a small surf club here, and he became our friend, and he's still today like very good friend of ours. And, he's a local, and, he just like showed us like that cool and relaxed stuff that they do here. And we were like, wow, this is so cool. We want to be here. But I have to tell you, we served that time when we came first 2014, and we come back 6 months later, we did it again. And we never, it was not something, oh, we have to surf, but, it was like a natural thing that we started. And it's, surf is extremely challenging sport, right? You really need to be in shape, and, to progress, it takes so much time. So, like you want to be good. And especially when you don't have a lot of time to surf in a year, your progress is super slow. So, like you have to commit time. So every time we were coming here during like this 7-8 years, we are extending the amount of time we're staying. And that's the trick. And I think this is what happens with people. They extend until the moment you can't extend anymore. You just really have to move here, or you have to like make a life that you can be 3 months here, 3 months, in the city. So, and everybody who I met here actually had this extensional, voyage to this point that they just had to break it and say like, okay, this is stupid what I'm doing, having, this like, 3 months here, 3 months there. So, but we are on this, this is our road now. We know what is coming, and we are very happy. But I actually really start surfing, maybe a year and a half ago, and like using a shorter board and going to the green water. And then last year I switched from a man to a woman who gave me a surf lessons, and everything changed. So I became, in 2 months, I stayed 2 months here, and I advanced so much. And I became
interesting
and everything. And I realized that actually the reason why I am so fast now is because somebody's talking to my body and my mind on the way how, I can actually understand. Because I really think that guys are more competitive and more pushy, while, women, they understand each other in that level that, oh, is it a full moon? Do you have your period? Did you eat this morning? How was your evening? Like, well, why don't you feel your hips? Like, it's like, and they use this like, comparison, like move your hands like you have a crystal ball in your hands, or things like that, which is really, something which I understand very fast.
So I think that's so interesting, though, that you're talking about this woman really speaking. It's almost an inner language in a way, and which is something I want to ask you about in sort of the inner journey for you. And I really think that's a big part of learning as an adult. And by adult, there are a few women who are so super athletic that even in their 20s, they might miss some of this piece. But even when you're very athletic, almost everybody, and the ocean, just kind of like you were talking about the safety stuff you were learning earlier, it's just so humbling. It's so powerful, and not always, but when it is, it is. So it creates this inner, I don't want to say struggle, but journey, that's often a struggle that is different. So I think that's really fascinating and great information.
I think the word struggle is actually perfect. You can't describe surfing in that you don't have so many physical and emotional struggles all the way, because you will never be the best, and you will never be the perfect. And even if you live, on the beach, but you get sick and you can surf for 7 days, you still need to go back into shape, like, so.
Yeah. And there's a new situation. The current's going a different way. It's coming from a different direction. Or sometimes this will never stop fascinating me. Sometimes you just cannot connect with the ocean. Like sometimes, like you go out one day and you've read it perfectly, and then the next day I have days after 20 years, it's as if I have never surfed in my life. Like, it's crazy. And I'm always aware, like, people are watching me like around, because at least we all watch each other, if for no other reason, to find out if you can get those waves, right? I mean, you can't help but watch like, oh, this person's a beginner. They're probably not going to get that wave. So I'm going to paddle next to them. So you can't help it, but at least watch that. And then I think, sometimes it gets in my head, but I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, it seriously looks like I've never surfed in my life. And I'm going to paddle up to people and go like, really, really? I usually catch waves. So what do you think? Okay, I seriously am starting to wonder about Nassau. Now, I was there a long time ago. In 2001, I had been surfing 6 months and my whole life had upended. I just got divorced. I had this hot new boyfriend. I had mileage, free miles. 9/11 had just happened not too long before. Monsoon had just come through Costa Rica. Got these tickets, came for 3 weeks and ended up in Costa and ended up all along there where that was not very developed yet. But I remember Santa Teresa and these different breaks. And I was still so green that Santa Teresa terrified me. But we stayed at this really cool, it was a Malpais surf camp. It was very rugged. Like it was just sort of, obviously no air conditioning, cold showers, lots of food. And I remember finding $5 plates of lobster in different places and really being more in the town. We hitchhiked, we took taxis with our 8-foot boards. I mean, it was so amazing. And I remember like, I definitely felt a draw to come back to it, but it had not been, it had not, what's happened in the last 20 years hadn't happened yet. So I'm really so curious. And there were very few women, that was not happening yet. Yeah. What do you think is going on? Okay, not just Nosara, but in general, women are being drawn to the water like crazy right now. Like there's literally something in the water, but something for sure about Nosara. Like, what do you think is happening? Because I feel like you're clued into this place you want to express. What's going on?
I mean, there is so many researchers now and so many super smart healers and people who talk about connection between the ocean and humans in general. And I don't want to go deep there because, I think there's more smarter people than me or more spiritual people than me who can explain that. I purely believe that, the ocean is the heart of the planet. And because we live on this planet, it has to be our heart as well. And I think that that people who had the privilege to be born or have relatives, on the coast and be closer to the water, always felt this. And that we just during the time became it's with new cheap airlines and a more adventurous the type of life that people they want to live, or all these movements of free women or women who wants to express themselves or have their own moment in life and go with their girlfriends or by themselves to some faraway place where is a retreat or surfing or this and that. It just as a globally as a humans we starting to see that women as well desire to be closer to the nature, to the ocean, to themselves, and to embrace all the love which is out there, like you surf and for you and me, when I tell you what is the better feeling in your life, okay, not better than having your daughter, but after that, what is the better feeling than wake up at 5, eat some little banana, get out there, before the sunrise and be on your board on the water and looking at that sun coming out and looking that moon fading out and this blue and pink and gold coming together and pelicans and all your friends on that water, there is nothing better that you can experience. There is no club, no drink, no sex, no drugs that can give you something stronger than that moment of being alive. And
that was good. Yes. Yeah.
And this is what women always wanted. It's just we finally coming into the, age that, mothers are not repressing us because of education, religion, the way how we were like meant to, take care of family and work and kids. We just like starting to move that like ball in a much bigger, way. And this is why, okay, now we have so many competitive women surfers. We have now so many, women that travel the world, that they're yoga teachers, or like whatever they want to do. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be spiritual. You can be a marketing manager working on your laptop in a beach house in some like Central America, whatever you want, and earning decent money and paying smaller rent, but giving amazing portion of your time to yourself.
That's really inspiring. I mean, thank you for that answer. That was absolutely phenomenal and really uplifting, because the bombardment of media, of things that are happening right now, I also feel this upwelling, that has nothing to do with it, that has nothing to do with our political systems, that has nothing to do with it. And you just put your finger on it. This upwelling of women connecting, I don't want to use all the buzzwords, but for lack of a better word, the divine feminine, the heartbeat of humanity, of the earth, of all of it. So let's talk about your project. Like, what I feel when you talk about it is, there's the intellectual side of, oh, I really want to show women different than the traditional media, and I want to show different ages and all of that. So, but it's come from this very organic expression of I want to say like birth, like life. Like it's not an intellectual argument. It's a literal organic explosion of life. And that was part of what interested me. And you can touch this or not, but about when you mentioned sort of the darker piece, like I thought about decay, and I thought about fear, and, these other places that come up that are not part of our conversation, particularly around surfing, which, like you said, even still, the surf, they're getting better, the surf industry, but it's almost always a beautiful girl on a beautiful longboard in an elegant place. It's not her being upended, drilled by the lip, legs flying out, like, crying on the beach or whatever, or ripping away with huge power. Like, what surfing really is. I mean, or just a part of it. It's life, right? So, yeah. So tell me about the subjects, maybe how you chose the subjects of your book and how this whole thing kind of came about.
So how I can make this very short and sweet. So there is a project which we named Nature of Surf Woman. And the idea was at the beginning that I tried to find a photographer that originates from Costa Rica, that is of course female, but that has like international career in the way that she practiced different type of photography, not fashion or beauty, photography. That was more like documentary photographer. So I had when I was starting to explore possibilities, okay, I want to make a project, and it should be a book, and it should be a coffee table book, because it should be something easy to reach, and just like go through it. But what I want to say in this book is that I want to show like that I wanted this huge, extremely like, a possum of like girls from 12 up to 67 that surfing different boards, different styles, on different waves, with the different body shapes and a different, a state of mind and soul. Then, I was thinking, okay, maybe today we are so fast with all these like YouTube videos and like TikToks and all that like drama in our lives, like we don't have time, we have to do everything fast, I have only a few seconds to be present. Then I was like thinking, okay, what kind of book I can make which is going to keep you and keep your attention a little bit longer than these few minutes because now it's just like, okay, just I'm going to flip these pages and that's it. Okay, she's talking about girls and they're like not supermodels. Okay, I don't care. So I had a lot of conversation and a lot of research work before I start like making my team. And I think this is the heart of my book, is that like surf never goes as I am a surfer. You need an ocean, you need a board, and you need a surf body. And this is when you are a good surfer. You cannot be only you. And this is what I was thinking of my book. Okay, so my book will have females who surf, and then I need to have sounds of the nature, sounds of the ocean, and sounds of the crickets, and sounds of the rain, and sounds of the wind, because this is what we're experiencing on the water. Okay, and you as our reader, you need to experience that sounds as well. And then the last thing you need like, I interviewed all 33 girls that we filmed for this book. And it's also only audio. I don't want that you connect with her and in any other way when she speaks than with what she wants to tell you. So there will be a QR codes in the book, and then maybe you get interested in some specific surfer or some specific photo of the nature, and you will click on that QR code, and you don't know what you're going to get. Are you going to get the sound of the ocean? Are you going to get part of her life story? Are you going to get one of the girls singing? Yeah. You just don't know. It's going to be like a little game. And I think this is and when I presented this format of the book to several photographers, they said it's a really big challenge. It's a challenge, I was lucky enough that after 6 months I met Gabriela Telliez. She lives in Lille in France, and she was locked in San Jose, in capital of Costa Rica, because of COVID. She couldn't fly out, and she was bored, and she couldn't work. So she said, "Okay, I am a land, and I am documentary photographer. I do very like dark and reflection of the soul type of like photography." And I don't, I really like your project, but I don't swim in an ocean. I'm not a water photographer. And I was like, you are the one. You are the one, because you don't know what most of the surf photographers or people who are know what is the best position in surf, the best wave you're going to get. You don't know anything. You are so innocent, and we are going to let you to experience each of these girl on your own way. She's beautiful lady, and she was challenged. And that was the most important thing. She accepted the challenge, and she said, I am a little bit afraid of big waves, and I don't know how. I never worked underwater, and I have to practice a lot, and I have to do a lot of test shoots. And thankfully, I have a house here, so the expenses were not so big for me to have her here. And I sent her to Nosara. She drive to Nosara, and I gathered my best friends from here, and I told them, you have to be so good to her. You have to feed her well. You need to treat her well. You need to, show her ocean, like the most pleasant place in the world. She should feel in love. And then we will, expose her to scary things. And the first test shoot was great. The second test shoot was great. And then I came with her in August. We met, we started working, and it was such an adventure. You don't understand. I drowned her. I was there, and we twice almost drowned her in the water. So it was so dangerous what we did to her. Imagine, she has 8 kilos camera, with the lenses, super expensive camera, super expensive lenses. She's not a good swimmer. She's going, and during the rainy season, the waves are here super high, tall and fast. So. And my best friend, actually, from Nosara, and my inspiration from this book, because she's my friend and my coach, surfing coach, Anne, she was in Denmark, back home to Denmark. And I called her because we already started working on a project. I told her, I almost killed her twice. What I'm going to do now? I'm scared. I'm scared for her life. We're all surfing around her and we want to be the best and everything. So we stopped. Everything was on pause. We flew back home. Everybody went home. And then we actually start really working on a project. So my friend Anne invented the whole system, like using the floaty to, wrap around her. And she duck dive her under the water on the waves. She was swimming her out and duck diving her and reading the waves for her. And we spent like almost a month teaching her about swell waves and we were so in that time we were actually living in a village with all these girls, so we would have every night dinners and or like one of the girls would come and make breakfast, or we would go out together. And I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, so like there was 3 girls living in a house only hanging out with girl surfers so she can learn more. And the community we created around this book, the all these glued now girls who work to make something together became so like, it became like a word of, a thing, Sarah. Now, there is this girl from LA who works as a film producer, and now actually she's making a book, and she brought this girl from France, but she's actually Tika. And, they're like every day on the water with, girls, and we're like a tribe. We are big, like shouting to each other, like we are coordinating. We're trying to figure this out, climbing the trees, running under the waterfalls, like, okay, let's take a close off, 5 seconds, nobody's here, and like, so the girls are, and it was a very, very, interesting experience. But
incredible.
And all these girls start, girls have their own boyfriends or jobs or families, living in the smaller communities because it's a small, place. So, but now, like more than 25 girls work together, and, we start really knowing each other, connecting to each other. Somebody's name, surname, where it lives, which board it serves, what is her favorite color, because we have to match the bathing suits. So 3 girls that surf in the same time, they are not samely dressed, what they eat, because we have to feed them. I mean, you absorb so much information, so much information. And like nowadays I come home and, like, for example, I wake up in LA and I have 17 messages. You understand? Because there is too many of us now. Like,
right.
It's like a big tribe now. Like,
and you're bonded. When women bond, we want to stay in contact. We want to keep contacting. And
there's so many small things we want to discuss about, right?
Yeah.
And big things and small things. So it was such experience. So for my photographer, who was like a documentary photographer and as a female photographer, she had this like fear of superior women around her, because we were all surfers and she's not. And we are all like into the sport and super healthy life. And, like we train, we are committed to wake up at 5 a.m. and surf, and she's not. I think she was intimidated, but she was willing to learn. And then I think that there is no bigger love than female love, like girl can love girl like a mother, right? So we love each other like mothers and sisters, and that love grows so much. And I think the whole village know when we are coming out to the beach and where the spot where we're going to surf and shot, and everybody was helping us. In one moment we had so much support, like the surf school gave us boards, the other like guys came with the GoPros to do behind the scenes for us, the son of one girl was shooting interviews, like, at the end, like there was a group of guys bringing huge I'm now going to speak in Spanish. Escaleras is ladders to the beach, because we had like a last shooting day was like a cover page, and there like all 33 of the girls were coming out from the water in shape of a board, of the nose of the board.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, it was hilarious, it was so yes, I am a producer of the multimedia book called Nature of Surf Woman. And yes, there is something coming out soon. We're going to, make this book beautiful. But what I am actually a mother of of such a beautiful friendship that grow in such a level that it's overcome like the idea or the goal that we create a product. It overcome like a material thing. It's something
I can
now.
literally feel like, do you know the old cartoon, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, the cartoon, the old one? I don't know.
Yeah.
So the old one that Boris and you have the Who's down in Whoville singing, and like they're singing like that, and it lifts the whole mountain. Like that's what it feels like. I just have this image of like you women and these hearts just growing like crazy, just and vibrating the whole village, and literally like shockwaves going through the world. It's I can really feel it, and
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I
so
mean, it's
now.
still a beautiful experience, like, you know, like, but it was that moment of like creation is, it was unexpected, you know, like when you don't know what you, when you
Yeah.
drop into something without
Yes.
knowing how it's going to go out.
Yeah.
Every of us should do this because it can get bad at the end. It's really, I am convinced that if you drop in with a full like heart,
Yeah.
you are going to get in return something bigger, stronger, and better than you could ever imagine. That's my personal experience, you know.
100%. Your fingers on something that feels really important to humanity, that feels really important to Mother Earth, you know, it feels important to women. And, you know, my whole passion for creating this podcast comes from the same rising love and incredible feeling and connection that's coming from women as we transform, as we come alive, as we come back to ourselves. And that power is just immeasurable. I mean, talking to you and feeling, it just feels exponential. So it's got me really excited for the present and the future.
And everybody says like, Ivana, when you talk about your project, you're so excited that everybody's, you know, but you know, like I start surfing, like I was like, what, 34, 5 years old. And most of the comments I got when I came back to London was like, what are you doing? You're too old. You're going to break your leg or whatever. Some stupid comments, you know?
Right.
And when you actually learn to surf and when you spend time in the water and you understand, you know, the right of wave, the swell, the wind, the you know, the progress, if you have a good instructor, you know, you start letting go all of this you know, comments and this like, you know, buzzing words in your head which are full of negativity. And I appreciate surf more than any other sport only because I think that the ocean that does not allow any negativity. If you're negative or, you know, stressed or you have any bad thoughts, you can't surf. You will never be able to surf. You have to let go.
Yeah, it takes you out of the present. So even when you have other kind of anticipating thoughts, like I've noticed sometimes I'll catch a really good wave and then I get a little ahead of myself and I think, and I see it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so great. I fall, it's over. Like, and the same for sure is true with negativity. Like, you know, oh, this person's in my way or they're always paddling around me or whatever. And it's like, it just won't connect and it doesn't happen. Sometimes you can break out of that. But I think it has to do with presence, that it demands your presence unlike anything else.
I don't think that there is any other sport that is addictive and demanding as surf is. I think that's like, but you know, I also don't believe that surf as a surf is that what you make you addictive. I think that's the whole approach to your life, because if you wake up and take your espresso and a croissant in Starbucks, and then you drive an hour to your work, and then you listen to this old terrible news, which you are bombarded every day. And then you arrive to your office and somebody's already give you like 15 tasks on your phone while you were driving, blah, blah, blah. Or you wake up, you take your espresso or whatever, like dripping coffee, whatever you like, a little banana, you go to the ocean, you're like, say, good morning, pelicans, and good morning, neighbor. And oh my God, this was a great wave you caught. And, you know, like you have this 2 hours of, awakening your body, strengthening your body, positive thoughts. And then you come home and start working. I think you are a completely different person.
100%.
And that the
Yes.
energy you're going to give to your coworkers, to your family, to your neighbors is going to be so beautiful, positive, full of wishing them that they feel and exchange with you the beauty of life. And my experiment particularly was that I wanted to work with all these different ages only to understand, is there a difference in a feeling? Is there a difference in emotions? Is there a difference of why the girl of 12 years surf and one, woman of 30 or 67? And I have to tell you, what I saw in the water and in my interviews, there is one pillar of surf, and that's I am so happy. I'm so content. I feel so healthy and ready to give after my success.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true.
Right?
That's,
Is
yeah,
it that
absolutely.
you are ready to share and give and be better person,
That is 100% true. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Really cool.
it's a progress. Imagine that you can create groups that groups can come out from that state of mind they are, and then they come back and help other groups.
Exactly.
And this is how actually we as a whole female movement have to work, in these smaller groups, finding the way to support each other, but not aggressively and pointing out on the problems, but actually letting go, that you become one with nature, one with yourself, and, prove yourself some small, achievements.
I like the way you put that one piece, that it's, yes, you come to yourself and, you phrased it in you come to yourself and you come whole, and it's from that wholeness that you walk out and then you want to give, and you kind of can't help but give when you're that full and you're that overflowing. It makes you it's time to share, and you want to. And so I think is exactly what's happening with it being in the female world, that is for sure the effect it has on a lot of us. We're finally whole. And once we're whole, we have to give. Because, and we have to connect. We want to connect. We want to connect and share and then lift each other. And it's really cool. Actually want to touch a little bit on what you did today, because I think it's important for people to hear the safety training you did. There's a lot we can connect to, and we all know our personal journeys. We've all been beaten down and held down and had scary things happen to us once you've been out in surf at all. But it isn't actually something that, especially if you haven't encountered that life or death experience, it isn't something I hear talked about a lot. So I would love if you want to share a takeaway or two from the training you did today.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try, because it's so fresh. I just came from there. There is an organization called Nosara Ocean Safety that organized for everyone who is interested in to pass the safety program. So that means that you're going to be divided. People are divided in groups. So one were victims and one were in a position to help you or save you. And then we, the structure is that they learn you a basic signs that you can show and ask for help, or show what is going on, and equipment you can use, your board or a bow or whatever they have. And then the way how you should swim or dive to find somebody. Okay. And then there is a lot of theory, of course. And while you're practicing that on a beach, on the sand, it's so okay, I can do this. Okay, I understand this. Oh, of course I would do this. And then they actually put us in an ocean. Mm-hmm. And it was extremely scary, when you understand that the person, by your board is floating, whatever is the situation, is she knocked by the board, or it has the injured any type, that you actually have to use the power of your body against the currency, against the all conditions, waves are coming and everything, to help that person to put in a board and swim out. Or even imagine if it's heavier or taller person than you, right? So you are dealing with the body plus conditions in the nature. And if you're not experienced and very good swimmer, and if you didn't have training of any of any type of training of safety, I think that not only that person will not be saved, I also think that you can be a potential victim. And I really think that we have to now think about that, with this like community mindfulness.
Well, I want to wrap this up with asking you, with your, especially you've been taking the coaching, you've switched to the women coach. Is there any one little tidbit, any sort of epiphany, surf epiphany, one thing that you would share with people to help them on their struggle?
Yes, and I'm going to connect that actually with my project. So if there is something I'm proud of as a surfer, is in what I wanted to share with the world through the book we are creating, is that, there is no age or body or attitude limitation if you want to be a surfer. You just have to be you, and to love yourself, whoever you are, however you look like. Try to accept that it's good to try something new, that it's good to struggle, and that it's going to come, like everything comes during the time. And what you can give to yourself as the biggest gift is that you're going to be outside, surrounded in the most beautiful nature, in your own, water, because you are 70% water. So you will be connected with the whole world, sitting on your board through water inside of you and outside of you. And you will be able to see all these girls and ladies around you with messy hair, no makeup, like a little bit sunburned, in all different bathing suits, with all different like state of mind. They just woke up and came to or they just finished the work and came, and they're there like you to drop everything down, just to drop it, and give to themselves self-love and a joy. And that's why you want to be a surfer. And that's what I want to say to the whole world through my project. This is why we choose to be surfers. And there is nothing to do with the good ass and tan skin and super cool board, which costs so much money or not. It only has to do, even that girls who look perfect on these perfect waves, trust me, they do it over and over again because they feel so liberated.
I love it. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. All right. That's an awesome place to wrap up. Thank you for sharing so much of yourself and your journey and the project. So it is, I'll put it in notes, but it's the nature of surf women, and it's evolving. So you have a website, which I think is just nature of surf
women.com.
You have to just pull it up and look at it. It's so beautiful.
And we have prints that are currently available, and we're trying to sell prints at this moment, so we can raise money to go to the next stage, and that's creating a layout of the book, design of the book. And then we will try to put the book at a Kickstarter, get some funds from there. And in the meantime, we just want to have a bigger community around it, like spread it to the world,
Do you have a way to sign up on a mailing list or anything on the website that people go to it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
You can sign up to pre-order the book, and or you can just write us a comment or any questions. So it's there.
Is there a place on there? So in case somebody isn't in the budget for a print, is there a place to make a donation? Something like that. That might be a good button for you to put on there. Just put a donation button in case somebody's got $20
and wants to help,
because it's such a beautiful project. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I love talking with you and meeting you and feeling this incredible power.